I'm 83 years old, and most mornings I wake up before the sun, not because I'm rested, but because sleep doesn't hold me the way it used to. The house is quiet then, too quiet. It gives me space to hear my own thoughts, and lately they've been crowded with the same realization. The habits I learned too late are the ones that truly mattered. I'm not saying that to sound wise. I'm saying it because there isn't much time left to pretend otherwise. At this age, you don't measure time in years anymore. You measure it in seasons you may not see again, in faces that won't be around next winter, in conversations you keep meaning to have but don't know how to begin. I'm telling this now because I don't need approval anymore. Most of the people whose opinions once guided my choices are gone. What's left is honesty. When I was younger, I thought habits were about discipline, about getting up early, about working hard, about not complaining. I was good at those. I built a life on them, a respectable one, at least from the outside. I had a steady job, paid my bills on time, kept my promises. I didn't fall apart. People trusted me. They relied on me. I took pride in that. But there were other habits I didn't learn, or maybe I avoided them. Habits that didn't look useful. Habits that didn't earn praise. Habits that didn't make sense until there was no time left to practice them properly. In my 20s, I was busy becoming someone. That's how it felt. Becoming a man who could stand on his own. Becoming someone who wouldn't be embarrassed by his bank balance or his title. I worked long hours, not because anyone forced me to, but because it felt like the right thing to do. That was the habit. Say yes. Stay late. Be reliable. I told myself there would be time later. Time to slow down. Time to be more present. Time to figure out what I actually felt instead of what needed to be done next. Later felt far away. Harmless to postpone. In my 30s, I had a family, a wife who was patient in ways I didn't fully notice, and children who assumed I'd always be there, even when I wasn't. I came home tired, not just physically, but in a way that made conversation feel like effort. I listened, but not deeply. I nodded while thinking about the next day. I told myself that providing was a form of love. That belief became a habit too. I didn't miss everything. That's important to say. I was around. I showed up to birthdays. I fixed things around the house. I was dependable, but I wasn't curious. I didn't ask the kinds of questions that slow a moment down. I didn't sit long enough with discomfort to let someone else be fully seen. I thought I was doing it right. The cost didn't arrive all at once. That's the dangerous part. It never does. It showed up quietly, in the way conversations became shorter, in how my wife stopped telling me about her worries and started telling her sister instead, in how my children learned not to interrupt me when I was reading the paper or watching the news. Small adjustments they made, reasonable ones. I adjusted too. I got used to the distance. It felt normal. That became another habit. In my 40s and 50s, life was busy in a different way. Responsibilities stacked up. Parents aged. Work demanded more. The world felt heavier, faster. I told myself I was holding everything together, that someone had to, that rest could wait. I didn't realize I was also practicing avoidance, avoiding stillness, avoiding difficult conversations, avoiding the quiet voice that sometimes asked if this was all there was. I rarely sat with nothing to do. Silence made me uneasy. I filled it with tasks, with noise, with obligations. I didn't call it fear, I called it productivity. Looking back, I see how many chances I had to learn a different habit. The habit of stopping, of listening without fixing, of saying I don't know and letting that be enough. But those habits didn't feel urgent. They didn't demand attention the way deadlines did. So I kept moving. The turning point didn't announce itself. It never does either. It came disguised as a normal day, followed by a phone call that split life into before and after. My wife got sick, not suddenly, not dramatically, slowly. The kind of illness that erodes rather than explodes. At first we thought it was manageable, then we thought it would pass, then we stopped using words like when and started using words like if. I was there more than, physically at least, sitting in hospital rooms, driving to appointments, learning medical terms I never wanted to know. I did what needed to be done. That habit served me well. But there were moments, quiet ones, when she looked at me like she wanted something else. Something I didn't know how to give quickly. Something that required being present without doing. I tried. I really did. But habits built over decades don't loosen their grip easily. She died before I learned how to sit with her fear without trying to make it smaller. Before I learned how to let silence be shared instead of filled. Before I learned how to say the things that feel obvious until it's too late to say them. After that, the house felt different, not just empty, exposed. There was no one left to witness my routines, no one to ask how my day went, no one to notice when I stayed quiet too long. That's when the habits I never learned began to matter. I had to learn how to be alone without hardening, how to reach out without a reason, how to admit loneliness without wrapping it in humor or deflection. Those things don't come naturally when you've spent a lifetime being useful instead of vulnerable. I lost touch with people without meaning to, not through conflict, but through delay. Calls not returned because it was late. Messages unanswered because I didn't know what to say. Weeks turning into months, months into years. You don't feel the loss at first. You feel busy. Then one day you realize there's no one left who knows your daily life. No one who would notice if you stopped talking. That realization sits heavy. At some point in my 70s, I understood something I wish I had known earlier. Life doesn't ask for grand gestures. It asks for attention, regular, imperfect attention, the kind you give even when you're tired, even when there's nothing to gain. I learned the habit of calling someone without an agenda, just to hear their voice. I learned to sit with memories instead of brushing past them. I learned to let myself feel sadness without rushing to explain it away. These habits didn't fix anything. They didn't bring anyone back. They didn't erase the years I lived on autopilot, but they softened the days I have left. There are things that can't be fixed. I won't pretend otherwise. There are words I'll never get to say. Apologies that no longer have a place to land. Versions of myself I can only imagine now, not become. I accept that. What's hard is knowing how simple some of the habits were. Not easy. Simple. Listening. Pausing. Saying what mattered while there was still time for it to matter. If you're younger than me, and most of you are, I won't tell you what to do. I don't have that right. All I can offer is this truth from where I'm sitting now. And the habits that shape a life rarely look important while you're forming them. They look small, optional, postponable. Presence feels inefficient. Honesty feels risky. Stillness feels unproductive. Until they're the only things you wish you had practiced more. I thought I was building a life by staying busy. I didn't realize I was also building distance. I thought strength meant carrying things quietly. I didn't realize it was teaching others not to come close. At 83, I spend more time remembering than planning. That's just how it is. Some memories warm me, others sit like stones. I hold them all now. That's another habit I learned late, not pushing things away, letting the whole truth exist, even when it's uncomfortable. If this means something to you, if it lands in a quiet place, you don't need to do anything about it right now. Just notice the habits you repeat without thinking. Notice which ones bring you closer to people and which ones keep you efficient but alone. I'm not afraid of dying. Not really. I'm afraid of the life I almost missed while trying so hard to live it properly. There isn't much time left for me. I feel that in my body, in my breath, in the way days blur together. But there's enough time to tell the truth. And this is it. The habits that truly mattered were never the impressive ones. They were the human ones. I just learned them too late.